The chapter of Doormat called Small Steps, which I've improved a little bit, I hope. The next morning she could see the sunshine through the curtains, and she looked as and it and she took it as a good omen. Although it was difficult, she managed to throw the heavy covers off and climb out of bed. A voice kept telling her to go back to bed, but she decided to ignore it. Then she went into the kitchen and she looked in the cupboards. They were crammed with food, and it was all junk. Biscuits, cakes, crisps, donuts, and in the fridge giant bottles of Coca-Cola. Stuff this, she mumbled to herself, and then she began to throw the junk food into the bin. Each item that she threw away made her feel better. Then she picked up the bottle of Coca-Cola. It was heavy, and she poured it down the sink, where it fizzled unhealthily like acid. It seemed to take a long time going down, and Anna shuddered at the thought of all that liquid going into her stomach. It looked just like poison to her. It was more confirmation that she had to change, and it gave her resilience. Then she went to the kitchen cupboards and she opened the drawers, and the biscuits fell out onto the floor. She bent down to pick them up, and even that felt like exercise. Then she carried the biscuits and cakes to the bin and threw them in with a clatter. She did it again and again. Anna opened the curtains and then the windows. It had been so long since she'd been outside, but she couldn't stand being cooped up inside any longer. She was beginning to feel like a wild animal, caged animal. Eventually found her old trainers and memories of sports day came back to her and made her feel young again. Anna forced them on, and as soon as she did, she felt better, and a little bit of confidence came back like an old friend. And then she went outside for the first time in months. It was daunting. Anna wasn't sure where to go, and then her thoughts turned to her old school. It was about 1 mile away, and she was sure she could make it if she tried. Even walking to the corner shop had felt like an effort to her, but she was determined not to give up. She opened the front door and she came face to face with real life again. She noticed the trees looked bigger, and one of the neighbors had changed their curtains, or maybe they had moved, she thought curiously. Each step was difficult, but before she knew it, she was down the street and round the corner. It didn't take long for her to begin sweating and panting. The voice started up again. Go home, get back in bed, you're useless, you're ugly. But again she ignored it. I'm not useless, I'm not ugly, she told herself, and she looked up at the lamppost, which looked down at her like an old friend. That's what I'll do, she told herself. I'll go from lamppost to lamppost. And like chapters in a book, they will eventually lead to the end, she thought wisely. Hope you enjoyed that chapter. Please sub me, more to come.